the same time, you also hear about cases where those same surveillance devices are used to apprehend illegal immigrants, people trying to go get an abortion or whatever the case may be. So some of your thoughts on how you would work with trying to parse the good things away from the bad.
A really great question, actually, specifically right now in our community. What you're mainly talking about is LPRs or flock, right?
Yeah.
So license plate readers versus flock are two different things. The problem with flock, the problem I have with flock, is the recording of all of our information and it being sent to somebody else. Also, the ability for other people to access my information, right? It's outside of my county. Whether the federal government wants to grab it, the state wants to grab it, or other departments want to grab it, that information belongs to a private company and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not on board with that. I didn't fight for 12 years to end up living in Great Britain. I don't need CTV. I've got good cops. But if it does start to become a problem and it's bad, there are many other license plate readers, LPRs, that are live action, that don't record. If I got a kidnapping in my county, fire them up. Put the license plate number in there, track the vehicle, go get them. If I've got somebody doing robberies or I've got somebody doing crimes, fire them up, let's go live. But the ability to make a profile on somebody and watch where they go and how they go and when they go, no need for that. This isn't Minority Report. Izzy's itching to come sing. Anybody else?
I got one question. This one.
Oh, he's got a question too. Come on, Izzy, come. No, come on. You've been waiting. You come up here with her so that nobody jumps in front of you, man.
Okay, so my question just has to, and you've talked a bit about it in answering some of the other questions, but it's specifically around accountability, or not accountability, accessibility. And how do you envision maybe like using some innovative ways in order to make courts more accessible, like just with those who aren't able like to get to courts? Like I think that we talked about that, like people who are able to get to places that they need to be. And in addition to that, like talking about accessibility, like for those that like have disabilities that hinder them from being able to like properly represent themselves. And then in addition to those that also speak Spanish or other languages besides English.
Okay, so that's a compound question, but I like it. First, though, I'd have to work very closely with the judges in my county. They ultimately have the last say of how and who gets to be in their courtroom and how they get there. During COVID, they were doing a great job with Zoom. Right? They use Zoom. If you had an issue with Zoom, you talk to your attorney. The jails have Zoom. We try to get people into the court so they can resolve their issues as fast as possible. The second portion of it is, I'm what's on what's called the wheel, right? It's colloquialism, the wheel, but basically it's an indigent defense program where people who can't afford attorneys get assigned an attorney. And I'm on that program. And unfortunately, I'm only one of 3 Spanish speakers on that program. I'm only one of a handful of Spanish speakers in the entire courthouse, including the DA's office. I don't think they have one. So, working closely with the judges would be the solution to that problem. The judges have access to a plethora of translators. They can get them up on Zoom. I had someone who spoke a dialect I'd never even heard before, and the judge was able to get me a translator and I was able to work with my client. So just bolstering the Indian Defense Coordinator, bolstering the translators, and working hand in hand with the judges.
Hey, what's up? My name's Easy. You already know. No, my question was mainly based on mental health awareness. You know, I was reading, you know, in one of the Caldwell County, the thing about that if you get called, the cops get called for a manic attack that someone's having, you're 16 times more likely to get shot, and that we don't put a lot of funds in the mental health department. Obviously, the band name is called Loose Screws and Rusty Hearts because I've been in the situation where the cops have been called on me, and I'm the one speaking to a police officer who I believe was the best job he ever did because he talked me out of whatever it was that was happening. And so my focus is like, I'm a big advocate for mental health awareness and like getting the good officers to be able to assess and handle that correctly, instead of just pulling the, obviously, living on the bump kind of thing. So I have family members in law enforcement, brother-in-law. I just want to know, what is your approach on the mental health side of things when it comes to phone calls like that?
So first and foremost, I want thank you for addressing the good officer that came out, because they don't get the kudos, right? That doesn't sell. That doesn't sell newspaper. That doesn't sell news, right? Officer comes, does a fantastic job, saves a person. It's the other one that sells. And when we're talking about mental health, it needs to come from the completely other side. As a law enforcement officer, you see some of the worst things imaginable. They need help in their mental health in order to continue to serve our community. If our officers are good and healthy, they can make sure that our community is good and healthy. So it's a two-pronged approach. Right? First, I need to make sure that my guys and gals and ladies and gentlemen are great and healthy and able to do their jobs. That's step one. Step two is they have to be trained on how to deal with somebody that's dealing with a mental health crisis. Because honestly, it can go from 0 to 100 very, very quickly. And sometimes the stories blame the officer, but there's nothing they could have done. Sometimes the officer causes that problem. And so it's a lot about training, and it's also about to make sure that they're in a healthy place to deal with somebody that's not in a healthy place. So again, me in someone else's office yelling at them until they're tired of hearing me talk about mental health resources for officers, mental health resources for our community, and training for officers to deal with people having mental health crisis. And we need tiers, we need steps, right? Because there's certain people that can talk down an individual, and then there's another one that nothing you say is going to get through. And we just need steps on how we're going to deal with those incremental issues. Because not every case is exactly the same. So when people say, well, he came out and he did this, or that person was having a mental crisis, this is how it ended. No two calls are ever the same. Just all about preparedness and training.